Skirk's trailer is easily the most lore-packed and stylistically unique and most budget-friendly anime opening we've seen in Genshin Impact. Unlike typical character trailers, this one shifts focus towards world-building, symbolism, and story implications, all while tying into the game's most obscure mysteries. So in this quick video, we're going to break down every major visual, trace how they connect to the Abyss, Khaenri'ah, and outer space lore, and explain what everything in Skirk's trailer means and the direction Genshin is heading. This will include some shots within the trailer that you missed, as well as the possible origins of Skirk's past. So let's get started. Skirk's trailer is by far the best and most beautiful trailer I've seen in the game so far. It's less of a character trailer showcasing her abilities and more of an anime opening focused more on emotional storytelling and music. The closest to a trailer done like this was Mawika's, which was mostly in-game, while Skirk had a mix between actual in-game scenes, 3D cutscenes, and a 2D anime-styled scene. And the music choice itself is also one of the best so far. The opening riff already gave me a Tokyo Ghoul, Demon Slayer, and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood vibes, but its more spiritual tone is a lot closer to that of the songs from 1 O'Clock and My First Story. It's energetic and loud and almost overbearing, but it's also somber and emotional that hides a deeper meaning. I won't go that deep into gushing about anime and Japanese rock music, but that's basically what it felt like. The scenes itself also hold some interesting places which we've seen already in-game, but the flow of each scene reminds me right away of Madoka Magica, which is both really awesome for storytelling, but it also scares me regarding how dark Hoyo is going with the direction of the game now. The scene at the end even looks like the scene from Genshin anime and the Traveler Siblings' short animation. This is a good thing if they truly are embracing the lore and story and putting it up front, since we can expect not only more heart-wrenching quests from now on, but also more obscure concepts due to the introduction of outer space travel and other worlds. We haven't gotten to Snezhnaya yet, but we'll definitely see more of Khaenri'ah and the Abyss with Skirk's story, especially paired with Dainsleif's quest. Moving on, every shot in her anime opening trailer is packed with lore and even references to other Hoyo games. The first shot is what looks like the Primordial Sea with Sirtologi's pet, the all-devouring narwhal. While it looks like an upside-down version of the sea with two separate surfaces, it's a similar scene that she has from her teaser, as well as Child's cutscene in Fontaine. But it also looks like Kokomi's dreams underwater because it has actual fishes. So maybe this is a different place or Sirtologi's aquarium in the Abyss. The reason I mentioned Kokomi is because Inazuma's whales look a lot like the whale skeleton in Skirk's trailer. If you didn't know yet, the world used to have way more water than it had today, and the creatures that inhabit the world sea were similar to these whales. Many skeletons outside of Inazuma can also be found, which implies that the entire world was indeed a water world long ago, probably even before the Sky Dome existed and way before the dragon's time as well. What follows are shots we've seen from her teaser as well. Sumeru's deserts, Dragonspine, and interestingly the party's DI garden in Sumeru. Maybe she met Kaveh and his mom or Nahida, and maybe Faruzan at some point. What follows is rain from inside of the Primordial Sea, and then building blocks appear in front of her. This could be what she used to play with in her world when she was young, but it could also be a representation of her old world during her childhood. As she reaches for the building block, she ends up touching a glass wall that leads her to this scene. Threads also appear like when Yelan uses her ultimate, where we can see her Abyss arm reaching into a mirror that has her past self before being overlapped by an Abyss entity. This could mean that she's reaching for threads of her fate and tapping into her memories of the past. The entity here looks a lot like the one inside the narwhal and might be Sirtologi's real body. The next scene is her fighting both the Abyss Order and the Black Serpent Knights from Khaenri'ah. This implies that she's not aligned with the Abyss Order or with Khaenri'ah, which is a given since she is with the Sinners. The place they fight also look like the Doomsday world we see in Fontaine's world quests, which aligns well with how Skirk sees the multiple civilizations that rise and fall to the Abyss. What's interesting here is to get to that place, we would need to traverse through a mirror, which is how the narwhal and Skirk travels or phases between the Abyss and Tevat. We've seen the power of mirrors and glass before in the Bedtime Story quest, and from the recent Alice boss as well as from the many past world quests that lead to other worlds. Tevat's fake sky also seems like a sort of glass dome. So maybe mirrors or glass are the gateway to the Abyss, and is how you can leave Tevat for now. This next scene shows a bunch of dark or black planets. This could be the other worlds already consumed by the Abyss or has gone through the cycle of Doomsday already. Skirk's artifact set, Finale of the Deep Galleries, speaks of worlds destined to rise and fall to something called the Lightless End. Interestingly, a lightless mass is also what drops from the narwhal, so this is definitely the Abyss. People who can use the Abyss or anyone who has used powers of the Abyss have the same markings. Skirk's Abyss transformation has the same symbols as the Abyss Papilia, but Skirk doesn't eat or siphon powers from the world. She only uses the Abyss to fight the Abyss in the same manner. We've mentioned before that she teleports and creates multiple weapons made of glass, dual blades that combine into a twin blade, as well as a greatsword. The greatsword in particular that she creates looks a lot similar to the sword that Cosmology might be using. So here's Soup, a new claymore, I guess? If you were wondering, Child doesn't use a greatsword even in his foul legacy form, only the same but shorter dual blade / glaive with similar moves as the narwhal. But he also has the same moves as Skirk. What follows is the collapse of building blocks she saw a while ago, which could be the fall of her civilization and the world before she was taken in by Cosmology. If you pause in the right moment, you can see what looks like a star is about to explode, as well as a possible moon blocking the planet from the star in what is commonly known as an eclipse. This is probably related to Conria's Eclipse and Crimson Moon dynasties, but it could also be from Skirk's own world that might have had a similar event. Next, when a star explodes into a supernova, it creates a black hole. And what we're seeing here is likely that same event. A sun exploding, creating a black hole, and destroying its own solar system far, far away from Tevat. And the black hole that you see here is likely the same one that's marked into Skirk's eyes, which is the same star in our solar system where Tevat is in. Now, whether or not the center of our solar system is the finality cocoon or a black hole like the nihility is still unclear. But Tevat is definitely going to outer space lore now. Although the next scene shows how far Tevat is from said star, it will still eventually reach Tevat, and this is the same narration in Skirk's artifact set, where a Voyager travels across space to find Tevat. Interestingly, Skirk also seems to have traveled from far away to Tevat, which might mean that she is the Voyager, or that she's seeing the story of the Voyager with her eyes. Now, I've tried to play with the photos a bit, however it ended up looking like a crappy alien conspiracy photo. These two look like it's either Cosmology and his black hole body, or a black hole in space with some debris and the sun. But this looks like a reddish planet or a star that's about to hit a small planet or a moon. If you remember from Skirk's teaser, she sees a reddish planet almost crashing into her planet when she was little. This might be that exact event right before Cosmology finds her. And in the next scene, we see her back in the Abyss or the Primordial Sea, likely failing to use her Abyss powers or is reeling from some Abyss side effect. But now the red planet that she saw is there while she rebuilds even more blocks. It seems to depict her trying again and again in the Abyss to either rebuild herself or the world she lost while she's still learning to use her Abyss powers while also fighting the Abyss again. Her ultimate also shows another dark planet. This time it's probably her homeworld instead. The next scene shows her traveling through light years of space, which reflects her ultimate, and then with her Abyss Greatsword, she slashes the reality in front of her like Whitebeard's Devil Fruit powers from One Piece. This is probably a hint to her mastery to control and destroy spaces and reality using the Abyss, and is probably the same power that Cosmology has too. This could also hint at the power of the last missing shade too, which is reality through imagination or the mind. Now, this segment has nothing to do with the Abyss and more about how the Abyss works. The Abyss and outer space is a weird place of power, and I think the best way to describe it is how Clothar does from the Caribert quest. The one who controls the Abyss controls everything. This, in my opinion, means that once you can control the Abyss, how you manifest and use that power is entirely up to your own imagination. And the Hexen Circle boss fight showcases this the best, where chess pieces start within the boundary of their board with restrictive and tile-based moves or attacks. But once they're taken to another realm outside of the rules, they can do whatever they want and become the fantastical boss you see now. This, I think, applies to the laws within Tevat and the free powers of the outside world. And it also applies to what Piero said about their battle with Celestia, where pieces that die on the board can still be used elsewhere, and the game that they're playing doesn't end at checkmate, since there's still the Abyss that they can use outside of Tevat where there are no rules, and their main objective is probably to destroy the fake sky. The final scene here is probably the new worlds that are still far away from Abyss corruption, where no civilization or even a descender exists, but there is an abundance of life. This is also where we can best discuss what she said in the trailer. This view of the stars, it seems timeless as if it could last forever, talks about the view of the stars from within the fake sky, since the stars that she sees from outside is just this. Saying it seems timeless, which it is, and that it could last forever is a nod to what Dainsleif said about Tevat's false reality, time, and skies, where he says that Tevat is in a perpetual meantime of a sheltered eternity. Next, all it takes is an instant for everything to come crashing down. The only choice is to forge ahead. This could mean one of three things: the Abyss coming to destroy or consume Tevat, the fall at every world that she's ever been to thus far in her journey, or she's recalling a time where her own world was destroyed and that she has to keep moving forward. We know that Skirk has been in the Abyss in outer space for possibly 500 years, maybe a little less, so it's possible that in that span of time she's already been to multiple worlds with Sirtology and the other sinners. She is also from a different world and likely from a world that was also destroyed by the Abyss. If you're wondering where the lore of outer space and other worlds are from, it's also from her artifact set. Moving on, you survive, you endure, you evolve, which is pretty much straightforward. She speaks of what she did to survive in the Abyss and in space. This scene also highlights her Abyss limbs, which she regenerates constantly so she can move around. When she says to evolve, it's to harness the power of the Abyss completely and use it to improve her combat skills and maybe even becoming a descender. From simple Abyss limbs to multiple Abyss weapons to teleportation and Abyss telekinesis with floating Abyss glass shards. Lastly, in the cold expanse of space, civilizations crumble and fade into eternal night, but when darkness falls, I will slit its throat. These last lines might mean that the world she was from and now it was destroyed by the Abyss, or the other multiple worlds that she might have been to in the past, while the building block she walks around might have a rough memory of her old world before it fell. Hence the look of just building blocks instead of actual detailed buildings, or this could be how she sees civilization in general. Since she might have already seen multiple worlds rise and fall, it all just started looking the same to her. What's interesting is the building blocks look a lot like Simulanka's, which means that the place closest to outer space in Simulanka is actually akin to Conria or Skirk's previous planet, or somewhere outside of the fake Sky Dome, which also means that the Hexen Circle have been to Skirk's world as well. The last part about slitting the throats of darkness can only be the Abyss itself and all its dark creations. I mean, we've seen the Abyss copy of herself in her short animation teaser, and she's fought the Abyss 1,000 times already. The eternal night and darkness, however, might mean different things, with one being the remnants of outer space and the dark planets, and the other being the Abyss itself that consumes worlds. It's likely that the only thing left is what we see in Skirk's planet. And that's as much lore and theory as I can pack into a single video based on Skirk's lore-filled and action-packed anime opening trailer. If you enjoyed watching to this point, then you should definitely leave a like, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe as well as hit the bell for more of my ramblings. Or maybe check out my other videos about Skirk and her lore as well. With all that said, Skirk's coming lore isn't just teasing a powerful new character. Groundwork, it might be laying down the narrative groundwork for Tevat's cosmology, expanding the role of the Abyss, and possibly hinting at a long-awaited descent of Conria's true story. If this is the new standard that Genshin is going for, we might be looking at a major shift in how Hoyoverse delivers its narratives and even their cutscenes and characters going forward. So that's gonna be it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one, yeah? And of course, as always, stay mad, dearists. Bye!